Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. I have a question here from someone named Stephanie. Stephanie wrote in and she said, "Thank you so much for your clear message about how we can be happy, thin, and free. While I myself am very thin, the happy and free part of life is a constant battle. Many different lifestyles, I call them that as it sounds better than diets, have yet to bring me peace in my relationship with food. Could you address what role recipe blogs, cooking shows on TV, even magazines play in our battle with overeating? For myself, I love watching baking competitions and the like on TV for what I tell myself is the humor and drama, but I wonder if it's something more. Could these things, the baking blogs I follow and the magazines I look at, actually contribute to my sugar and flour binges? Can watching others bake a beautiful cake or pie or seeing it in picture form really make me desperate for desserts? While I know my relationship with food is disordered, this feels so crazy. Help. Thank you, Stephanie." Oh, Stephanie, what a great question. Yeah, you have nailed something right there, girlfriend. And actually, there's a couple things I'd like to address here. First of all, I want to address at the very beginning when you said that you're very thin, but not happy or free with food, and that's constantly been a struggle. I think a lot of people don't realize, but the two categories of BMI, like weight, right, that have the highest percentages of food addiction are the extremely obese, like morbidly obese, and the underweight. I consider those to be parts of the same continuum. I think restricted eating, dieting, purging, starving, over-exercising, all of those things are on the same continuum with overeating and binging. And food addiction is not about weight. Food addiction is about obsession and compulsion and that feeling of desperation and control and unhappiness around the way we eat. And yeah, it's got nothing to do with weight. It's shocking to people to hear that, but actually plenty of people who are overweight or even obese or even morbidly obese are not food addicts. They might need help losing weight because losing weight is still hard in this society where sugar and flour are just readily available and even pushed on you everywhere. But they have not developed the level of obsession and compulsion that some of us have. So anyway, I just want to say, Stephanie, you're not alone at all. And I think that in some ways, being in a right-sized body or even underweight makes the food obsession harder, especially if you're in a right-sized body, because then other people don't take your food difficulty seriously. They don't really believe you often, and it can be even more isolating. I also understand that being, coming from very high numbers has its own particular challenges as well, for sure, where you wear your overeating on your body for everyone to see, and your size makes basic life functions hard. Believe me, I remember when I couldn't tie my shoes, or when I struggled to, I think I could still do it, but most days I couldn't face tying my shoes, so I wore slip-on shoes. And I used crystal meth as my anorexia drug, just so I wouldn't have to eat. And I got totally addicted to that in my teenage years, later went on to crack cocaine. Those were my attempts to do what I didn't seem to have the fortitude to do on my own, which was to develop anorexia, which was what I really was trying to do, was just to not ever have to eat. Anyway, so Stephanie, first of all, I just want to say I feel you on that. You're not alone. The second thing I want to say is about the whole, I'm going to call it something, Stephanie. I'm going to call it food porn. That's what I think it is. Yeah, it's a problem. And yeah, it's feeding your binges. Yeah. So, absolutely. I got no business. Staring at cakes and pies. I turn my eyes. I avert my gaze. What you're talking about is, like, imagine someone who's alcoholic, who goes to AA and gets sober and now is struggling with their sobriety, and they're hanging out in bars all the time, and they're just watching other people drink, and they're like, I don't know, I think I come here to play pool, you know, like I just come here to socialize and to play pool. I like the drama, I like the energy of the bar, and I keep getting drunk and I don't understand it. You know, there's an old saying, you hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So yeah, it's having a huge effect. And I think that the obsession with cookbooks and food blogs and food magazines and the Food Network, I call it food porn. It's a grotesque and excessive obsession with all things related to food, and absolutely it fuels it. Now, for me, what I do is I try to keep my food pretty simple. I'm not a big fan of recipes. I'm not a big fan of, spending a big chunk of my day beyond what's necessary, thinking of fancy ways to combine and prepare my food. I'm not a fan of that. Now, I know that there are people in the Bright Line Eating movement who bristle when I say that, and for them, within the boundaries of the bright lines, they still really like to think about ways to make their food more delicious and find new recipes that really work for them, and spend extra time beyond what's minimally necessary, making their food a really rewarding, satisfying, nourishing, exciting part of their life. For me, I kind of reached a point where I didn't want to give food, honestly, an extra minute of my time beyond what was necessary. I have to say I love my food. I never forget to eat. I know some people in Bright Line Eating get so free that they forget to eat sometimes. I'm not one of those people. I'm pretty free, but I remember when it's mealtime for sure. And I love my food. I enjoy every bite. But what I love most is that when the food is over, I'm back to thinking about my life. That's what I like. I like having a rich, full life. There's a saying that I like, which is, I keep my food black and white so I can live my life in living color. And that's what I want. Now, everyone watching, you get to decide what you want. I have no judgment about, however you want to organize your food life in terms of recipes and focusing on cooking and stuff. I will say for me that I avoid being up to my elbows in sugar and flour. So I have 3 kids. I don't bake. I used to be an amazing baker. I don't bake with my kids. I just don't. There are a couple things that I can take out of a package and just do really simply, pop them in the oven, and I do that rarely. And I don't make things. I used to make everything from scratch. I was a horrible food snob. I was a really, really good cook even by the age of 8. I could have made you Thanksgiving dinner from scratch, not even kidding. And I was an amazing baker. I don't do that stuff anymore. And what I have found is that I have more than enough hobbies in my life that and wonderful interests in my life that make up for that. So yeah, I think it's having an effect, Stephanie. I think that if you tried to let that go, you would be shocked at how big of an effect it's having. It would be a little stunning for you. I hope you're getting support. I hope you're learning about Bright Line Eating and considering really doing it. And there is life after food obsession, and there is life after food porn. There are other things that you can be doing with your time other than obsessing about food and thinking about food. Lastly, I just want to say that I feel like I really know that there is a segment of the population for whom their cooking is an outlet for creativity, and it's a very healthy thing for them. And they're relatively low on the susceptibility scale. They're not obsessing about the food. They're not unhealthy because of what they eat. And cooking is their creative outlet and their hobby in the same way that making stained glass windows is a hobby that I enjoy. It's just part of their life in a very healthy way. And for them, food blogs, magazines, the Food Network, food porn, it's not food porn for them. It's their hobby. It's a healthy interest. So I get that. What I'm talking about is for people like you, Stephanie, who have an admitted, self-acknowledged challenge with finding and experiencing and living freedom and peace around food, it absolutely is the case that that kind of activity is an obsessive part of the food addiction, for sure. So anyway, I hope that helps, Stephanie. I'm thinking of you with a lot of love, and I want you to know you're not alone. The grief over letting go of that, and I actually do want to invite you to create space in your heart for the grief and sadness that might come up if you decide that you're going to let go of that food porn, because it's taken up a big space of your life, a big chunk of time, and it's provided a lot of comfort and numbness, but comfort nonetheless. It has worked for you in a certain way for a long time. It's been something you've relied on, and there's going to be a loss there if you look to let it go. And I want you to think about maybe making space for that, because it's not a trivial thing to let it go. And I want you to know you're not alone. There's a lot of people in our community that go through that and have crossed to the other side successfully and let go of it. One last little thought that's occurring to me. Healthy food blogs can be similarly unhelpful, in the sense of some folks who start Bright Line Eating stay hooked on blogs about the latest, healthiest way to eat, the science behind it, and this mineral and that, blah blah blah. There's a lot out there on the internet, podcasts and blogs and then books and gurus and everything around how to do all that. And I've also seen people take that to an extreme where it disrupts their serenity and it keeps them obsessed with the whole food rigmarole in a way that's not healthy. And so that's another thing to maybe, I just invite you to look at it. I think that striving to live healthier and to know how to eat most healthfully can be a very self-empowering thing to do. And I also know that for some people in our community who are high on the susceptibility scale, it's not helpful. And it's something to consider as well. So anyway, lots of love, Stephanie, thinking about you. And for everyone else out there watching, if you have something you would like me to address on the weekly vlog, send it in. I'm at Susan@brightlineeating.com. I'll see you next week.